If you're a health or a life coach and you have no idea where to start when it comes to knowing what tech you need in your coaching business, then this is the episode of the show for you. I'm going to share the best tech tools for health and life coaches. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show we're talking all about tech. All the tech things that you need to run your coaching business. And I'm going to share some of my favourite tech tools, the essential kind of what I would call basic tech setup any health or life coach needs, and a few extra things that you might want to get if you're feeling a bit fancy and you want to explore more tools. I'm also going to share what you want to consider when you are thinking about which tech tools to choose and how to make those decisions as well. Now, tech can be a bit scary if you're not the most technological person. It can feel a little bit scary. The good news is it doesn't have to be. With a bit of practice you can figure it out, but there are ways to keep things simple and just use the bare minimum that you need to make sure that your business is going to function. I do think it's unavoidable. I think you're going to have to use tech at some point. If you are running your coaching business online, it really is. It's going to be one of those essential things you're going to have to get to grips with. So you might as well start now. Generally speaking, when it comes to tech, the more comprehensive a tech tool is, by that I mean the more things it includes within it, the more functions it has, the more expensive it is. And generally speaking, the simpler the tech tool, the less expensive it is. For example, there are CRMs, customer relationship managers, that will do your email list and your website and all of your client onboarding, and they tend to be more expensive, but they do everything all in one. So those are some things to consider when you are deciding what tools to invest in for your business. A really great place to start when it comes to any kind of tech and deciding what you need is to basically look at your processes in your business. What do you need to do? What function do you need the tech to perform to allow your business to run? This is a really, really good place to start. Just basically start off by thinking, what is it that I need to do? What do I need to perform? What tasks do I need to perform? What needs to happen to make money, to have clients actually sign up, like go through the processes that you're going to go through. And that will usually indicate, okay, so I need something that is going to do that for me. I need something to help with that. There are going to be tasks that you can do manually. And by that, I mean, you're still going to be on a computer, but you're going to be, sending an email or getting someone to send something back or so on, that is a little bit less automated. So that's another element that tends to be more expensive, is the more automation, by which I mean something happens and it triggers something else to happen in your tech setup. Now, maybe you're already thinking, Laura, this all sounds horrible. I don't like it. It's fine. You can handle this. It's just tech that needs to be learned. This is a big thing that I do support people with in Wholehearted Business and also in my one-to-one mentoring as well. So if it is something that you need support with, if you feel like I've got the budget and I just want this taken care of, I do have options. So do get in touch and you can learn more about that. I'll put some links in the description. But to get us started with, I wanted to share what I think of as a pretty basic essential tech setup for most health and life coaches. I'm going to give you the names of all the different tech tools and the functions that I would have them perform for you and why they're important. And then we'll look at a couple of extras and then we'll talk about some of the fancier things that you might want to look at, the things that I really love using in my business. So the basic tools that I would have as a health or a life coach, the first thing that I'll be looking at is Google Drive and all of the associated tools. I mean, Google Drive, Google, the whole Google Workspace package is what I would be looking at. You could also use Microsoft as equivalent, but I'm just not a Microsoft girl at all. But I really love Google's package of tools, including Gmail, including Google Calendar, including Google Meet. So if you want to be doing online calls with people, Google Meet is a great option, all inbuilt. I also love using Google Docs, Google Sheets. Google Forms is great for creating onboarding forms for your clients. So basically, Google Docs, the whole kind of like Google Workspace, all of that Google stuff is great. You can use it for free if you just sign up for a free Gmail account, I believe. You can also have it set up so that if you have a domain email address, that you can use it with that. So you can get your email from your domain. Your domain is basically the URL that you have on your website. You can use that to create an email address, which often looks more professional, and you can use that with all of your Google stuff. This is what I use in my business. I have Google set up so that my laura@wholeheartedlaura.com email address and hello@wholeheartedlaura.com email addresses all go through Google, and we all have access to all of the Google tools that come with that. So that's the first thing that I would be looking at, is that tool, so that you've got access to all of those things, your your email, your calendar, your Word docs, spreadsheets, forms. Google Meet as well is a really, really good video option without having to add another tool into the mix, which we'll look at in a second. The next tool is either MailerLite or Kit, and this is how you're going to manage your email list. I honestly think the days are gone when you can, not worry about an email list. You're going to need to have an email list. To me, it really is an essential. So Kit used to be called ConvertKit. That's what I use. It's a little bit more complicated to get started with, but it has really, really great functionality. It does a lot of stuff, and you can also sell products through Kit. MailerLite is free and it's a lot simpler to set up, but it has more limited functionality, and depending on where you see your business going, it might be worth just getting to grips with Kit now and paying that little bit of an extra fee to get to grips with it and use that now if you know that you're going to have a multi-offer business. If you're not, then MailerLite is a perfectly great option. Or even if you just want to start with MailerLite because it's free, it's a perfectly great option to get going with. And like I say, that's going to help you manage your email list and send emails to your email list. The next tool is Canva. Again, you can get a free Canva account. You can upgrade to Canva Pro. I use Canva all of the time in my business. It's really great for creating any kind of materials, any kind of content for your marketing. It's also really, really great for creating resources and things for clients. So Canva is a fantastic tool. You can get the free version or you can get the pro version, but it's just a brilliant tool that you will use in all sorts of different ways in your coaching business. The next tool is Calendly. Now, I think having an option for people to book in with you online is really, really sensible. And again, it's quite basic to set up. It's not expensive. In fact, I think it might have a free version. It's worthwhile adding that into your basic setup. It's not, I would say maybe not essential, but I would very, very much recommend having that option. I think people are far more likely to book in for discovery calls when they can just look at your calendar online and find a slot that works for them rather than going backwards and forwards on email. And then finally, you're going to want to have your website set up. Now, that can look differently depending on the website version that you go for. So you might want to have WordPress, which will come with hosting, your domain, WordPress, and then usually a theme that is used with WordPress. That's my favorite. That's my preference for most people, even though it is a bit more complicated at the start. Usually once you've got to the point where you've got a theme up on there, it's really, really straightforward. I think over 40% of the websites on the internet are ran on WordPress. So WordPress is a great option. You're going to want to have a hosting account and so on with that. Or there's also Squarespace is a brilliant option. There's also many other ones like Wix, for example. There's loads of other ones. Now, how good they are really depends on what you want them for and how you're going to use them and how big a deal SEO and blogging might be for you and how much budget you have as well. If you pay someone to set up your website, then that's great. I would go for WordPress if it was me personally, but there's lots of pros and cons to look at this around, and really it's about making sure that if you're the one who's going to be doing most of the editing, creation, updating and stuff, go for a simpler option. It's fine. I mean, like I say, I am personally a big fan of WordPress, but I do recognise it's not going to be right necessarily for everybody and really depending on your tech level. But you're going to want to think about, do you have a budget just to pay someone to design your website for you? That's going to save you time. If you're really not techie, it's going to save you a lot of time just to pay someone to do it. Or if you are moderately techie, you might want to look at something like Squarespace or Wix. If you feel a little bit more confident, then WordPress is a really, really good one to get to grips with. So that is basically your essential health coach or life coach tech setup. So we've talked about all of the Google tools, and what you can do with those. You can have all of your online meetings, all of your online coaching calls using Google Meet. You can do your onboarding forms using Google Forms and use all of the Gmail, calendar, all of that kind of stuff with the Google kind of suite of stuff. I've talked about Canva and about using that for designing things and for your marketing and for creating resources and things for clients. We've talked about ConvertKit, which is now called Kit, or MailerLite to manage your email list. Calendly for allowing people to book in for discovery calls and for coaching calls. And finally, we've also talked about your website and whatever tech you need for your website to be up and online. Just a word on that one as well, you can actually use Canva to create websites. So that is another option. If you find that Canva is easy to use, you can't really use Canva if you need to have a blog, but you can use it for a really simple website. So that's always an option too. And then a couple of extras. So these are things that I would think of not as essentials, but as extra nice things that kind of still fit into that basic tech setup, but that will just elevate the whole process. Because what you don't have in that basic tech setup is you don't have a way for people to sign contracts or program agreements when they work with you as a coach. You're going to have to do that as like some kind of backwards and forwards on email and having someone write in an email that I accept the terms of the attached document type style thing, which is perfectly fine. And I did that for years and it worked a treat. But if you have the budget and if you want to explore other options, then you might want to get a customer relationship manager, a CRM, and the two ones that I would recommend is Paperbell. Now, Paperbell is designed exclusively for coaches, so it's a great option. I think now as well, you can actually do a website in Paperbell. I think, again, Paperbell is one of those options where it's really comprehensive, so you can just do everything in it, which is great, which is really, really great, but it does come with the appropriate price point for that. So just bear that in mind. I'll put a link to all of these different tools, so do go and check that out. What I use at the moment is Dubsado, and I love Dubsado because it allows me to do all of like the onboarding management, to have things signed. I can also invoice through Dubsado if I need to as well. And I also really like that it has its own scheduler. So you can, it's a bit like Calendly, I kind of use that along with my website, embed that in, and people can schedule stuff using Dubsado. I believe that Paperbell also has that option too. So again, you might just want to go for something like that, and it might just save some of the other things. Therefore, you don't need to worry about some of those other tech tools, knowing that you've got everything inbuilt into those, but the price will be higher. Another thing that you might want to consider is you might want to look at a different online conferencing software. So you might want to look at Zoom. There's also a really fantastic one that I personally really, really love, which is called Whereby, and that's another video call bit of software that just works in your browser. So if you don't want to use Google Meet, or if you feel like people are just more used to Zoom, you can also use Microsoft Teams if that's something. I feel like that's like what all of my friends who are working in officey jobs are using is Microsoft Teams. But whatever it is that you want to use, you can also, you don't have to go with Google Meet. You can upgrade and use Zoom, or you can use Whereby as well as an option too. So we've covered some kind of essential tech things there. The other thing that I haven't mentioned is just about managing your finances. I would tend to do that if you're starting out in a spreadsheet, in a sheet in Google. That's how actually I manage all of my cash flow. I do also use Xero, which my accountant uses, and that pulls all of my bank statements and stuff into that. All of my Stripe, all of the stuff kind of gets pulled into Xero, and that manages all of that stuff for me. So you've got that option as well, but you could just as easily use a spreadsheet when you're starting out, just to track all of the income, expenses and things like that. And then finally, just to wrap up, I wanted to share a few of the tech tools that I personally really love that are not really required as like a basic getting started kind of setup, but that I find really useful in many of the different things that I do. The first one, which I've spoken about before on the show, is Notion. I am obsessed with Notion. It manages literally my entire life. I've got an episode of the show coming up soon. In fact, it might have already been on by the time these things go out, but where I talk about my mini season planning, and I use Notion for all of my client management. In fact, I'll put a link to my free client portal that is based in Notion. You'll be able to download that, so go and check out the free client portal so you can manage your clients in Notion as well. I just use it for like everything in my life is basically in Notion. So I'm a massive fan of Notion. It is a bit complicated to get started with, but once you've kind of got it in your head, it's just the best tool. What I found is that it just works around my brain rather than my brain having to work around a tool like Trello or Asana, which are project management tools. So I'm a really big fan of Notion. I also love a tool called Loom, and that is basically a screen recording or video recording software. So I use Loom in several different ways in my business. I use it to record feedback videos for my clients. So where they might be sharing some sales copy or want me to have a look at their website and give some thoughts, I will record a video and then share it from them, and I'll use Loom to do that. I also use Loom to record and host all of my videos, all of my training videos for my courses and programs. I use Loom to either record them or to host them, usually both, and then have them in my kind of course platform, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So I absolutely love Loom. I also use it to record personalised videos. If I'm doing a launch, I might kind of check in with people and just say, hi, have you got any questions? And just kind of say hello with a little personalised video message. So I use Loom for a whole bunch of things in my business. I find it a really great tool, very low priced for what I use it for. Absolutely love it. Another tool that I really love is Thrivecart and ThriveLearn. So Thrivecart is basically an online cart system. It's a way for people to pay for things. You can create products and then sell them with Thrivecart. And then ThriveLearn is the accompanying course platform that you can manage and host courses on. So I used to be with Teachable. They changed their pricing structure did no longer want to be with Teachable and came over to Thrivecart and ThriveCart Big disclaimer, it has its moments, it can be a bit buggy. Some people do not like it. Personally, I've had no issues with it whatsoever. So personally, I've really enjoyed using it and haven't had any issues. And I also love that it's a single payment and then that's it. You've got access to it. There's no more payments on top. There's no monthly payments. I really love that it's just one payment and done. So that has always suited me really, really well. I find the tool really easy to use. I find it does some really cool things when it comes to upsells and, order bumps and all sorts of really awesome things. I absolutely love that tool. And yeah, it's like a cornerstone tool in my business. Another tool is Convertbox. This is a tool that basically creates pop-up boxes on your website. So again, I use this to promote little freebies that I've got to increase the number of people who sign up for my email list. I use it during launches to remind people to go and check out sales pages and things like that. It's just a cool, kind of handy little tool to have, especially if you have a business that has multiple offers, especially if you're wanting to kind of have different freebies on different pages, things like that. It can just be a really great tool for maximizing your audience growth and maximizing your sales. And then finally, one of my absolute favorites is Descript. So I use Descript to edit this show that you are watching or listening to, and it's just a marvelous tool for any kind of video or audio editing and also for creating clips for social media. So again, it's something I use every single week in my business. It's really versatile in terms of what it does and it just ticks so many boxes. It's really easy to use for me and I absolutely love it. So I would highly recommend Descript. So there you go. Those are some of my top tech tools for health and life coaches. Again, there's many others, and dependent on the form of marketing that you are doing and the primary kind of marketing that you're focusing on, you might find that there's other tools that you need. I do also use Buzzsprout to host the podcast on, and again, absolutely love Buzzsprout. So there's various other things that you might need depending on what your primary marketing methods are to allow those things to happen and to make it more effective, more automated, things like that. But these are just, like I say, that initial list was just some essential basics, I think, for getting started as a health or life coach. And then you can kind of just build that up. And, people often refer to this as your tech stack. So you will over time build up your tech stack as a health or a life coach. And, like I say, it can be scary at the start when you start with all these new things, you don't know how to use them. There are people who can help. Again, I have programs and offers that offer support around this because I know it's not everyone's zone of genius, and that's okay. But everything's figure outable, to sound like Marie Forleo. Everything is figure outable and you can do it. So I hope that's been really helpful for everyone. Like I say, if anyone wants to have a little dive into Notion, do check out my free client portal training and template that I've got that is based in Notion. I've also got my Notion planning templates, which I'll link to as well. They're a really, really great resource for planning and getting your head around all the different things in your business that you need to have in place. And if you'd like to learn more about some of the other tech tools that I use, please do check out the resources page on my website. I've got a full list of all of the tech tools that I recommend. Please do go and check that out. And also check out the episode of the show where I basically detailed all of my expenses that I pay for in my business, because you will see exactly every single tech tool that I use. It's quite a long list. You will hear about every single one. So do go and check out that episode of the show as well. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful, everybody. Do take care and I will see you next week. Bye.